Hello, friends. So we're going to do a little demonstration of the Electro-Harmonics Ocean's Abyss Reverb Laboratory. Is that what it's called? The Advanced Reverb Laboratory. The reason I'm going to show you some things on here is not purely a demo. There'll be plenty of those out there. This is some real world experience. I've had it for over a week, and I've made many presets and tweaked some of the presets that came with it. And there's some things you need to know about it. The first thing you need to know is that, yes, you can do frippertronics with this. You can have 3 different 8-second delays going, and you can affect the modulation of those delays, the tape warp, the tape age if you choose tape. And if you choose digital or analog, they have their own settings for different types of modulation, warping, and you can have them on parallel paths. So it doesn't all have to be on the same path. That's really cool. You can use up to 2 different or 2 of the same reverbs if you want. They can be on parallel paths. The routing is really key. But there's some idiosyncrasies you need to know, and I'm going to show you some of those because it gets a little tricky at times. They don't have the app out yet. This would all be much easier with the app. Kind of drives me crazy when you know there's an app coming, but they don't release it with the pedal. But that said, it's still super cool. I actually like the reverb sounds. I particularly like running reverbs in parallel. And there's a lot of tweakability. There's a lot to like about this. It ain't cheap, but it isn't much more expensive than, say, a Big Sky MX or other comparable reverb pedals. So let me show you some of the stuff that I've done. So the first thing here that you're hearing right now, that's the Abyss plate. I've done nothing to that. That's the stock Abyss plate preset. But I'm going to show you some stuff that I did. So the first thing I want to show you Let's start here. This is called Big Lush. It's a preset that they had on here and was really cool. It's a Big Lush reverb, but I did some tweaking to it, and here's what it sounds like after playing around with it for a couple of days. It's a Big Lush reverb. So what I did was I added a tremolo before the first reverb and then an analog delay after that reverb. On the parallel path, I have a reverb and then a tape delay. And then at the end, the sum of both chains, as you can see on the screen, I have a saturation plugin. Big, lush, saturated reverb. That was the first thing I did. And then I went to, there is a preset called Nonlinear. I'll take you there now. So as you can see, you can change the presets by highlighting the top preset line and scrolling with the dial. The dial is a little finicky when you go to select certain effects. But let me play you this first. This is what was 2 nonlinear reverbs, and I turned it into multiple long delays of slightly different lengths, so they would kind of, do that phase looping thing of like sort of Stephen Reich. It's my own version of it, really. And I added some modulation, and EQ and whatnot, and you will get a bunch of multiple long delay looping going on. So this is that. So that'll go on and on and on. And that's a tape delay on one path, a digital delay on the other path, two nonlinear reverbs. One is a reverse reverb, and the other one, I think, is kind of the bloomy hall style thing. But I can show you that right now because this is where we're going to get into the finicky aspect of this dial. Okay, so you saw I had to pull it down to highlight an effect, and I had to press it 3 times before it would pull up. Why is that important? Well, because you can accidentally change the effect by not getting the effect to open properly. You can, mess up your settings, and it took 4 tries to get it to open. It opened on the 4th try. Now, sometimes it opens on the 2nd try. Sometimes it opens on the 1st try. The point is, it's a very, very finicky dial. You might see some people holding it and pressing it. Okay, so that time, if you just hit it slightly the wrong way, it went to the routing. I pulled it back because you can go right, left, up, and down with that dial by clicking in those directions. And then again, it took 3 tries after missing the first time. It's very finicky, but that's how you change the settings of each different pedal. And you can scroll through those settings with the left, right. Like so. And then to get out, you just press back to home, and that pedal will be highlighted to get to the next pedal. Well, see, you'll go to the routing next, then to the next pedal, you click again. That's something you need to know because I messed up several times the first couple of days making presets, and those presets kept getting messed up. So I kept saving all the time while I was going, so I didn't lose the work that I had just spent a half an hour on or more to get there. Now, to save, here's what you got to do to save. If you press preset, it just changed the preset. So what you need to do see, I just totally messed it up there because I'm reaching over. And that's another thing, having it right in front of you is really key. Like I had it literally on my lap as I was making a lot of these presets. So let me do it with the pedal, with the switches to change the preset now. And then we're back to nonlinear. If you want to save a preset, you go up to the name of the preset, you click up like I just did. And then, but the problem is if you press preset, okay, there you go again. We're back to live. Why it's doing that, I have no idea. But what you need to do, if you've made any changes, is to hold preset. And then it will say, you have to hold it for a couple of seconds, and then it'll say overwrite the preset. And then I'm not going to overwrite this, so I'm going to press cancel. But if you've made changes, you have to hold on the preset button for a couple of seconds and then click the center dial to the right to OK, and then press the center dial again. But because the center dial is finicky, sometimes you have to do it a couple of times. That's super important. You need to know this. Now, the other thing you need to know is there are phase and chorus and bit crushing and saturation. There's a whole bunch of effects. There's 3 different types of reverbs: analog, digital, and tape. But you don't have endless versions of those. Like, you have a phaser and you can do, I think it's 4, 6, and 8 stage phasing, and you can choose that in the settings. Let's see if we can do that. That one did it the first time. Tremolo, chorus, wire, mute, bit crushing, saturation, graphic, phaser. Whoops. So you can see how finicky that dial is. I'm pressing it in the middle. Like I said, it's better when it's right in front of you. And so you have depth, rate, level, shape. There's only 2 shapes in the phaser. Stereo, feedback, blend, stages. So yeah, it's 4, 6, and 8, and then smear. So we're not going to save that because I like my preset. We're going to go back up to nonlinear. So here is my second kind of intricate preset that I created. It's again a sound on sound, long delay preset. I think I have, 2 different delays, a digital and a tape, but with drastically different settings to the last time. You can have up to 8 effects. That's what I've got going right now here. I've got 8 different effects. Both parallel chains have an EQ at the end, but the EQ is different because I didn't want them to be the same. That would be kind of useless, even though they're 2 different types of delays and 2 different types of reverbs. So the combinations are endless. Let's play that same figure again with this and see what we get. This will go on for a while, unless I turn it off. So even if you have the trails on, the trails are, unless you set it for multiple effects, like the delays and the reverbs, it's mostly has to do with the reverbs. But again, it's deep. You can also set to have switches turn off multiple effects, if like so. You can see they're not highlighted anymore on the B switch. Turn those back on. Turn off the A switch, and those are not highlighted anymore. So you can have up to 8 effects. You can assign multiple effects to each switches. So on this preset, for instance, I will have, by turning off one switch, the one delay and one reverb are continuously delay looping on that long feedback loop. The other one's off. I can then turn that one off and turn the other one on, and that's going, or have them both going at the same time. It's really, really cool. It's cool. And, you know, it's endless what you can do with this thing. You can EQ the reverbs. Let me say that again without it running. You can EQ the reverbs. You can put EQ at the end or wherever in the chain you want by selecting the graphic EQ. It's quite cool. There's a lot of neat things going on. The reverbs sound very good. Some of them will sound familiar to you. Like, for instance, there's a Holy Grail in here, and there's some from the Ocean's 11 pedals. If you've played Electro-Harmonix reverbs before, you will recognize them. It's very intricate. It's not complicated, but it is intricate, if that can be so at the same time. If two things can be so at the same time. And you just need to be aware of the saving procedure and that certain things were going to jump around with you on the dial. That's going to be a little fussy until they get that. Once they have the app, I think this will be a piece of cake, and then it'll even be more enjoyable. So let me just run through. This one's called Symphonic. It's the second preset that comes with it after Lush. Lush is 1, Symphonics 2. I tweaked it to make it sound more to my liking. And as you can see, there's 6 different pedals being utilized or 6 different effects. I shouldn't call them pedals. There's 6 different effects being utilized in that preset. And you can just scroll up. There's a lot of cool things. Parallel verbs I really like. Now, I've tweaked this one. The original that comes with the unit is just 2 reverbs on parallel paths. I added a tape delay with, I think, 460-ish milliseconds of delay first, a chorus, and then saturation at the end. That you get the definition of having them in parallel and still get the largesse of the reverbs, and that you can add things to it to your own taste. So that kind of gives you the gist of what's going on here. This one is a spring. It's called Horton's Spring. I tweaked it a little bit because it was a little too slappy for me, and it's still pretty slappy, but it's cool. It's a pretty good sounding spring. And in the spring, you can choose, instead of the model that I've chosen, which is GE16, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, but you can choose Holy Grail instead. Here's a bright spring. And it is indeed bright. Surf rig. Surf rig. Shimmer. I hate shimmer, but they have shimmer. For you praise and worship players. Octave reverb. A gated reverb. That's a gated reverb. So anyway, it goes on and on and on, and there's some really cool things. The ducking reverb is quite nice. blooms after you're done playing. And you can just tweak like crazy. Studio. You know, like a small studio room. It also has a small room. Wood floor. Endless possibilities. A locker room. It's kind of a cool sound. And a filtered reverb. This one had one reverb, a filtered reverb, and I've added, let's see, 6 more. 5 more. So it had just a filtered reverb, and I added 5 more effects to the chain: an analog delay, a tape delay, a flange, saturation. Anyway, this is what that sounds like. And it's got a looping delay. That'll go on forever. So anyway, rather than go on and on about this, I will leave you with this. And if you have any questions, let me know. I've had it for about a week, and I've been digging in every day for a few hours a day when I had time, when I wasn't recording. And I think it's going to stick around for quite a while, just because it will replace several effects in my chain and allow me to do the Frippatronic sound on sound without having multiple delay pedals taking up space on a board. And if I want phaser, if I want flange, if I want chorus, if I want saturation, if I want bit crushing, it's all in there, including EQ. And the EQ comes very, very handy, either in the middle or at the end of each chain. You can then sculpt it exactly how you want. And in my case, make one path slightly different than the other without losing anything. So this one is called Bioluminescence. It's one of the included presets. With some phasing and modulation going on. So hope you enjoyed this. Trying to keep it short and just let you know about some of the idiosyncrasies and some of the major pluses of this device, and how it can be used is up to your imagination. You may use it differently than I would, but to knock off 4 or 5 different effects off my board, especially when you're playing gigs. I have to carry my stuff around the buses and tubes of London to get to gigs, and this will make it a lot easier. A lot lighter and potentially a lot better. So let me know if you have any questions.